Sentinel Station floated in the cold darkness of space. Orbiting a frozen world that humans had named Frost, the station was home to 1,200 people. Most of them were miners who worked on the planet below, pulling precious metals from the ice. Others were scientists studying the strange life forms that lived in the frozen oceans. There were also families, and children who had been born in space and had never seen Earth. Commander Lisa Morgan had run the station for 3 years. She was a tall woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had joined the Navy when she was young, served on warships for 20 years, and then taken this quiet posting when she wanted peace. Sentinel Station was supposed to be boring. Nothing ever happened this far from Earth. Lisa was drinking her morning coffee when the alarms started screaming. Danny Ortega was her communications officer. He was only 24 years old, fresh from training on Luna. He had taken this job because he wanted adventure. Now his hands were shaking as he worked his console. "Commander, I have 6 ships on sensors. They just appeared out of nowhere. No warning, no signals, nothing." Lisa set down her coffee and walked to the main screen. The ships were unlike anything she had seen before. They were black and angular, covered with weapons that glowed with strange energy. Each one was bigger than Sentinel Station. "Try to contact them," she ordered. Danny sent messages in every language humanity knew. He sent mathematical patterns that any intelligent species should recognize. He sent simple greetings and requests for communication. The alien ships did not respond. Instead, they moved into position around the station. They surrounded it completely, blocking every escape route. Lisa watched them with growing fear. She had read reports about possible alien contact. Humanity had been searching for other life for centuries, but no one had expected first contact to look like this. "Commander," Danny said, his voice breaking, "they're jamming all our signals. I can't reach Earth. I can't reach anyone." The aliens finally sent a message. It came through in broken English, translated by machines that did not understand human language very well. "Human presence in Varath expansion corridor is terminated. Resistance is wasteful." Lisa felt her heart go cold. These aliens, whoever they were, had not come to talk. They had come to kill. She picked up the station intercom and spoke to her people. Her voice was calm even though her hands were shaking. "Hey, all hands. This is the commander. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. All civilians move to the emergency escape pods immediately. Security teams report to defense positions." This is not a drill. The station erupted into chaos. Parents grabbed their children and ran through the corridors. Workers dropped their tools and headed for the pod bays. The security team, only 50 men and women with light weapons, took positions at the main airlocks. Lieutenant Kevin Shaw led the security team. He was a big man with a shaved head and a scar across his chin. He had fought pirates 3 times in his career. He knew that this fight was different. Pirates wanted to steal things. These aliens wanted to destroy everything. "Set up the portable railguns here and here," he ordered his team. "When they breach, we hit them with everything we have. Our job is to buy time for the civilians. That's all that matters." The first breach came at Airlock 7. The aliens cut through the heavy metal doors like they were paper. They came through in armored suits, carrying weapons that fired beams of blue light. Kevin's team opened fire. The railguns punched holes in the alien armor. The first wave fell, but more came behind them, stepping over their dead without fear. The blue beams hit Kevin's people, and wherever they hit, bodies fell and did not move again. Kevin fought for 11 minutes. He killed 17 aliens with his own hands. When a plasma charge blew through the wall beside him, he was still firing, still screaming at his team to hold the line. The explosion tore through his body, but even as he fell, he knew he had done his job. Behind him, the last escape pods were launching. Lisa Morgan watched from the command center as her station died. The screens showed aliens moving through the corridors, killing anyone they found. The escape pods launched one after another, tiny seeds of hope flying into the darkness. "Danny, get to a pod," she said. "What about you, Commander?" Lisa shook her head. "Someone has to stay here and keep broadcasting." Maybe something will get through their jamming. Maybe someone will hear us. Danny wanted to argue, but he saw the look in her eyes. She had made her choice. He ran for the pod bay. Blood running down his face from a cut he didn't remember getting. 3 escape pods were destroyed before they could get away. The alien ships shot them down like target practice. But 5 pods made it through, slipping past the enemy vessels and flying toward human space. Danny's pod was one of them. He was alone in the small craft, wounded and scared. As his pod flew away from the dying station, he turned on the emergency beacon and began recording a message. "This is Danny Ortega from Sentinel Station. We have been attacked by alien forces. They call themselves the Vorath. They gave no warning and accepted no surrender. The station is destroyed. 1,200 people are dead. Commander Lisa Morgan stayed behind to keep broadcasting. She saved us. Please, someone has to hear this. Send help." He repeated the message over and over until his voice gave out. Then he set the beacon to maximum power and aimed his pod toward Earth. The medical systems injected him with drugs to keep him alive. As consciousness faded, Danny thought about Lisa Morgan standing alone in the command center, broadcasting into the void until the aliens found her. Back on the station, Lisa watched the last pod disappear on her sensors. She smiled, just a little. 47 people had escaped. It wasn't many, but it was something. 47 people would live because of Kevin Shaw and his team. 47 people would tell the galaxy what happened here. The aliens broke through the command center door. Lisa turned to face them. She was still broadcasting, her voice going out on every frequency. "My name is Lisa Morgan. I am the commander of Sentinel Station. We were civilians. We posed no threat to anyone. Remember us. Remember what was done here." The blue light of alien weapons filled the room, in the escape pod. Flying through the darkness between stars, Danny Ortega dreamed of 1,200 voices calling out for justice. He dreamed of Earth receiving his message. He dreamed of what humanity would do when they learned the truth. The Vorath had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were attacking a weak species, a minor civilization that would not fight back. They thought they could kill 1,200 humans and face no consequences. They were wrong. The message reached Earth 7 days after Danny Ortega pressed the button on his emergency beacon. It traveled through relay stations and communication satellites, passed through military networks and civilian channels, until it finally arrived at Fleet Command on Luna. Admiral Patricia Cole was 62 years old. She had gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had served the United Earth Navy for 40 years, starting as a young officer on patrol ships and rising through the ranks until she commanded the entire fleet. She had dealt with pirates, smugglers, and rebellions. She had never dealt with anything like this. The briefing room was silent as the holographic display showed Danny Ortega's message. His voice, weak and broken, filled the room. The faces of 1,200 dead civilians scrolled across the screen. Children who would never grow up. Scientists who would never finish their research. Families who would never see Earth again. "We have confirmed the message is genuine," said Commander Tony Vega, the chief intelligence officer. He was a thin man with nervous hands and quick eyes. "We sent probes to Sentinel Station. There is nothing left but wreckage and bodies." The station was completely destroyed. Patricia looked at the images. She saw the burned corridors, the floating debris, the frozen corpses drifting in space. She felt something cold and hard growing in her chest. "Who are they?" she asked. "They call themselves the Vorath Hegemony, a mid-level stellar power controlling approximately 200 star systems. They have been expanding for the past 3 centuries, conquering or destroying any species in their path. They never responded to our diplomatic probes. We thought they simply weren't interested in contact." "They were interested," Patricia said quietly. "Just not in talking." Secretary General Marcus Webb sat at the far end of the table. He was the civilian leader of Earth's unified government, an older man with white hair and a kind face. He had spent his career building peace between human nations. Now he faced a war with aliens. "What are our options, Admiral?" he asked. Patricia stood and walked to the star chart. She pressed buttons and the display changed, showing the location of Sentinel Station, Earth's colonies, and the vast territory of the Vorath hegemony. "The Vorath have never seen our true military capability," she said. "Everything they observed was civilian. Mining ships, transport vessels, research stations. They think we're weak. They think we can't fight back. Can we?" Marcus asked. Patricia turned to face him. There was something in her eyes that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. It was not anger. It was not hatred. It was certainty. Since humanity first left Earth, we have asked ourselves one question. What if we're not alone? What if the universe is hostile? Every generation prepared for that possibility. We built weapons we hoped we would never use. We trained soldiers for wars we prayed would never come. We created defensive systems that could protect our worlds against any threat. She pressed another button. The display showed Earth's actual military forces. Hundreds of warships hidden in classified locations. Weapons platforms orbiting distant moons. Fighter squadrons stationed throughout human space. The Vorath attacked 1,200 civilians because they thought there would be no consequences. They were wrong. There will be consequences they cannot imagine.
Oh.
The planning took 6 days. Patricia worked without sleep, coordinating with ship captains and ground commanders across human space. She brought together the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 200 warships, each one carrying weapons that the Vorath had never seen. Meanwhile, Donnie Ortega woke up in a hospital on Luna. He was surrounded by doctors and military officers asking questions. They wanted to know everything he had seen. Every detail about the alien ships. Every word of their message. Every moment of the attack. "You saved us," Captain Maria Santos told him. She was a young officer assigned to take his statement. "Your beacon reached us in time. Without your message, we wouldn't know what happened." Danny stared at the ceiling. He thought about Lisa Morgan staying behind so others could escape. He thought about Kevin Shaw dying in the corridors. He thought about the children in the escape pods that were shot down. 47 people survived, he said. Out of 1,200, that's not enough. It's more than 0. And now Earth knows the truth. Now we can respond. Danny turned to look at her. "What are we going to do?" Maria's face was hard. "We're going to make sure this never happens again. We're going to show the Vorath and everyone else in the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity." The fleet gathered at a secret location beyond the orbit of Neptune. Patricia Cole stood on the bridge of her flagship, the carrier Constitution. It was the largest ship humanity had ever built, a city of metal and weapons. It floating in the darkness of space. She addressed her crews through the fleet communication system. Her voice reached 200 ships and 50,000 sailors. "You all know why we're here? 7 days ago, the Vorath hegemony attacked Sentinel Station without warning or provocation. They killed 1,200 civilians. Men, women, and children who posed no threat to anyone. They did this because they thought we were weak. Because they thought we wouldn't fight back." She paused, letting the silence stretch. "We are not weak, and we will fight back. But this is not about revenge. This is about making a statement. The galaxy is watching. Other species are watching. They want to know what kind of people we are. They want to know if humanity can be attacked without consequence." Her voice grew harder. "We will give them their answer. When we are done, every species in this galaxy will know one simple truth. You do not attack humanity. You do not kill our people. If you do, we will find you. We will destroy everything you have. And we will not stop until you understand the price of your mistake." The fleet activated its engines. 200 ships moved as one, entering fold space and vanishing from human territory. They were heading for Kethra, the Vorath homeworld. They were carrying weapons that would change the galaxy forever, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Vorath homeworld of Kethra was a beautiful planet. It had blue oceans, green forests, and cities that stretched across entire continents. 8 billion Vorath lived there, going about their daily lives without fear. They had conquered dozens of species. They had destroyed civilizations that were older than their own. They believed they were the strongest power in their region of space. High Commander Vethril sat in his palace, receiving congratulations for his successful attack on the human station. Other military leaders praised his quick thinking. Politicians gave him medals. The news networks called him a hero for removing a potential threat to Vorath. Expansion, no one worried about human retaliation. The humans were a young species barely capable of traveling between stars. Their military was weak. Their weapons were primitive. They would complain to the galactic community, maybe send angry messages, but they could do nothing else. Vethril was thinking about his next promotion when the alarm started. The human fleet emerged from fold space at the edge of the Kethra system. 200 warships appeared at exactly the same moment, their arrival synchronized to the millisecond. The Vorath detection grid registered them as a sensor error at first. By the time operators realized what was happening, the human ships were already moving. Admiral Patricia Cole stood on the bridge of the Constitution, watching the tactical display. She saw the Vorath scrambling to respond, saw their ships launching from orbital stations, saw their communication channels fill with panic and confusion. All ships. Begin attack pattern Alpha, she ordered. Weapons free. The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for centuries. It would be called the most one-sided engagement in galactic history. It would be called a massacre. Human railguns fired first. They launched projectiles of solid tungsten at speeds close to light. The projectiles crossed millions of kilometers in seconds, punching through Vorath ships like needles through paper. Shields meant nothing. Armor meant nothing. Vorath cruisers exploded into clouds of debris before they could fire a single shot. The Vorath fleet numbered nearly 1,000 ships. They were experienced warriors who had won hundreds of battles. They tried to form defensive formations. They tried to coordinate their fire. They tried to protect their planet. Nothing worked. Human ships moved with perfect coordination. Their computers linked together in a network that processed millions of calculations every second. They knew where the Vorath ships would be before the Vorath knew themselves. They struck weak points with surgical precision. They avoided counterattacks that never came close to hitting them. Energy weapons joined the railguns. Directed energy beams sliced through hull plating, cutting Vorath ships into pieces. Electronic warfare systems turned enemy computers into useless machines, leaving ships drifting without power or control. Fighter squadrons launched from carriers, swarming around larger vessels and destroying them from multiple angles. By hour 6 of the battle, half the Vorath fleet was debris. Ships burned and tumbled through space, their crews dead or dying. Rescue beacons flashed from escape pods, but there was no one left to answer them. By hour 10, the Vorath orbital stations began falling. Defense platforms that had protected Kethra for centuries were torn apart by human weapons. Communication satellites exploded. Supply depots burned. Everything the Vorath had built in orbit was systematically destroyed. By hour 14, there was nothing left but wreckage and human ships. Patricia Cole opened a communication channel to the Vorath leadership on the planet below. Her words were translated perfectly into their language. You attacked a civilian outpost. 1,200 people. Families. Children. You gave no warning, offered no negotiation, accepted no surrender. You did this because you believed we were weak. Because you believed there would be no consequences. On the planet's surface, Vethril listened to the human commander. He watched footage of his fleet being destroyed. He saw the greatest military force in Vorath history reduced to scrap metal in less than a day. For the first time in his life, he felt fear. We are not weak, Patricia continued, and there are always consequences. The human fleet moved into position around Kethra. Ships spread out, forming a sphere around the planet and its moons. Weapon systems activated, pointing down at the world below. Vethril sent desperate messages. He offered surrender. He offered tribute. He offered to give back everything the Vorath had ever taken. He begged for mercy. Patricia did not respond. The weapons that humanity deployed had been designed in secret facilities on moons that officially did not exist. They had been tested in deep space, far from any observer. They had been built with one purpose: to destroy planets. Relativistic kinetic impactors fell from orbit. Masses of tungsten, accelerated to devastating speeds, struck the planet's surface with the force of nuclear weapons. Cities vanished. Mountains crumbled. Oceans boiled away. Antimatter warheads followed. Each one released energy that could power human civilization for years. They fell on military installations, government centers, population areas. Mushroom clouds rose across the planet, visible from space. Swarm drones carried fusion charges to every corner of Kethra. They found bunkers where civilians had hidden. They found underground facilities where leaders had fled. They found every place where Vorath life tried to survive, and they destroyed it all. The bombardment lasted 12 hours. When it ended, Kethra was a dead world. The atmosphere was burning. The oceans were gone. The cities were craters. 8 billion Vorath, a civilization that had existed for 10,000 years, was erased from existence. Patricia Cole watched the destruction in silence. She did not feel triumph. She did not feel satisfaction. She felt only a cold emptiness that she knew would never leave her. "Set course for home," she ordered. "Our work here is done." The human fleet turned away from the burning planet. They entered fold space and disappeared, leaving behind only wreckage and death. The galaxy would learn what had happened here. Every species would know the price the Vorath had paid for their arrogance. And somewhere in the ruins of Kethra, the wind carried ashes across a landscape of destruction. 8 billion lives ended because their leaders made one terrible mistake. They attacked humanity. They learned why that was never a good idea. News of what happened at Kethra spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Alien civilizations that had never heard of humanity suddenly knew their name. Species that had ignored the young race from the small blue planet now studied every piece of information they could find about them. The great powers of the galaxy debated what this meant. Some called humanity heroes for destroying a race of conquerors. Others called them monsters for wiping out 8 billion lives. Everyone agreed on one thing: the galaxy had changed forever. On Earth, the reaction was complicated. When the fleet returned, there were no victory parades. There were no celebrations in the streets. People gathered in silence, holding candles for the dead of Sentinel Station and the dead of Kethra alike. Politicians argued in the halls of government. Some said Patricia Cole should be decorated as a hero. Others said she should face trial for crimes against sentient life. The debates went on for months without resolution. Religious leaders struggled to explain what had happened. Had humanity done the right thing? Was vengeance justified? Could any response be proportional to the murder of 1,200 civilians? There were no easy answers. Admiral Patricia Cole retired from the Navy 3 months after the battle. She refused all interviews. She wrote no books about her experiences. She gave no speeches. She simply disappeared to a small house in Montana, where she lived quietly until her death 11 years later. Those who knew her said she never spoke about Kethra. Only once did she break her silence, when a young officer visited her and asked if she had any regrets. "Regret that it was necessary," she told him. "I don't regret doing what was necessary." The young officer didn't understand. He asked her to explain. Patricia looked out her window at the mountains in the distance. "Before we left for Kethra, I studied the Vorath. I learned their history. You know how many species they destroyed in their expansion? 14. 14 entire civilizations erased from existence because they were in the way. Billions of lives ended without mercy." She turned back to the officer. "If we had done nothing, we would have been number 15. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. They would have seen our weakness and come for our colonies, our stations, our homeworld. The only way to survive was to show them and everyone else that attacking humanity was not worth the cost." "But 8 billion people," the officer said. "How do you live with that?" Patricia's eyes were tired and sad. "I don't live with it. I carry it. Every day, I carry those 8 billion lives. It's the price I paid for the billions of human lives that will never face what they faced. It's a weight I accepted when I gave the order. Danny Ortega took a different path. After 2 years of recovery and therapy, he returned to space. But he didn't join the military. Instead, he became part of Earth's new diplomatic service, working to establish peaceful contact with other species. His first mission took him to meet the Talshri Consortium, a civilization of traders who had watched both the attack on Sentinel Station and the human response. The Talshri were a tall species with blue skin and facial tendrils that moved when they expressed emotions. Their ambassador met Danny on a space station at the border between their territories. The ambassador's name was Veltha, and she had studied humanity for decades. "Your species has created quite a situation," Veltha said. "Many in the galaxy are afraid of you now. They see what you did to the Vorath and wonder if they might be next." Danny nodded. "That's why I'm here. We don't want to be feared. We want to be understood." Veltha's tendrils moved in a pattern that Danny had learned meant thoughtfulness. "We had contact with the Vorath before you destroyed them. They were arrogant and cruel. They believed they could do anything to anyone without consequences. Many species in this region lived in fear of them. Now they live in fear of us. Yes, but there is a difference." Veltha leaned forward. "The Vorath attacked without provocation. They destroyed for the pleasure of destruction. You destroyed because you were attacked first. You destroyed to send a message that unprovoked aggression will be punished." Danny thought about Lisa Morgan standing alone in the command center as the aliens broke through the doors. He thought about Kevin Shaw, fighting to the last breath so that others could escape. He thought about the children who died in the escape pods that never reached safety. "We didn't want this," Danny said. "We just wanted to explore the stars. We wanted to meet other species, learn from them, trade with them. We never asked for war." "No species ever asks for war," Veltha replied. "But the galaxy is not a gentle place. There are predators out there, species that see weakness and attack. The Vorath were such predators. Before you, they faced no real opposition. Now they are gone, and the message is clear. There is a species that will not tolerate aggression." Danny considered her words. "Is that a good thing?" Veltha's tendrils shifted in what might have been a smile. "That depends on your perspective. For species like the Vorath, it is very bad. For species like mine, who want only to trade and prosper in peace, it may be very good. A predator has been removed. A new power has risen. Perhaps the galaxy will be safer now. Perhaps other species will build bigger weapons, prepare for bigger wars. That is always possible. But consider this, Danny Ortega. In the centuries of Vorath expansion, how many species tried to stop them? None. No one had the power or the will. They conquered and destroyed because they could. Now everyone knows that such behavior has limits. Now everyone knows there is a price." Danny returned to Earth with a lot to think about. The debates continued in the government and the media. Some called for humanity to become a galactic police force, punishing aggressors wherever they appeared. Others wanted isolation, pulling back from the stars and hoping to be forgotten. The truth, as always, was somewhere in the middle. Earth did not become an empire. It did not seek to conquer or control other species. But it also did not hide. Human ships continued to explore the galaxy. Human diplomats established relationships with dozens of species. Human traders opened new markets and created new opportunities. And everywhere humans went, other species remembered Kethra. They remembered what happened when you attacked humanity. They remembered the price of underestimating the species from the small blue world. Most of them decided that peace was the better option. 20 years had passed since the destruction of Kethra. The galaxy was a different place now. The Vorath hegemony had collapsed completely. Their remaining systems cut off from central leadership and facing rebellions from species they had conquered, broke apart into dozens of small territories. Some of these territories eventually asked humanity for protection. Others faded into obscurity, forgotten by history. Earth changed as well. The United Earth Navy grew from a small defensive force into a genuine interstellar military. Hundreds of ships patrolled human space, protecting colonies and trade routes. No one attacked human stations anymore. No one even thought about it. Diplomatic missions established contact with more than 40 alien species. Some became close allies. Others remained distant but respectful. Trade routes connected human worlds. Two alien markets, bringing wealth and technology to both sides. Humanity had found its place in the galactic community. Commander Samuel Price stood on the observation deck of Sentinel Memorial Station. It was built in the same orbit where the original station had died. A gleaming structure of metal and glass that housed 3,000 people. Below it, the ice world that humans had named Frost continued its slow rotation. The station was a monument and a workplace at the same time. Part of it was dedicated to remembering those who had died 20 years ago. Their names were carved into walls of black stone. Their faces looked out from holographic displays. Their stories were told to every visitor who came. The rest of the station continued the work the original had started. Miners extracted valuable metals from the frozen world. Scientists studied the strange life forms in the icy oceans. Families lived and worked and raised children in the same space where their ancestors had died. Samuel was 45 years old. He had never known the original Sentinel station, but he had grown up with its legacy. His father had been one of the miners who worked there. His father had been away on a supply run when the attack happened. He survived only because of luck. Samuel had joined the Navy to honor those who had died. He had served on warships and patrol vessels before accepting command of the memorial station. It was his way of keeping their memory alive. A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. "Quite a view." Samuel turned to see Veltha, the Talshri ambassador he had been meeting with. She was older now, her blue skin showing the marks of age, but her tendrils still moved with expressive grace. "I never get tired of it," Samuel said. "Even after 3 years here, I still come to this window every morning." Veltha joined him at the viewing port. Stars filled the darkness beyond, countless points of light stretching to infinity. Somewhere out there was Kethra, now a dead world orbited by the debris of its civilization. "Do your people still remember what happened here?" Veltha asked. 20 years is a long time. Memories fade." Samuel shook his head. "Every child on Earth learns about Sentinel Station. And Kethra. We remember both. Some species in the galaxy think you were too harsh. That 8 billion lives were too many for 1,200? Samuel considered the question carefully. It was one he had thought about many times. Maybe they were. I wasn't there. I didn't give the order. I can only see what came after. And what do you see?" Samuel pointed at the station around them. "This. 3,000 people living and working in peace. I see 40 alien species that have diplomatic relations with humanity. I see trade routes that make everyone wealthier. I see a galaxy that, whatever else it might be, knows better than to start wars with us." He turned to face Veltha directly. "I've read the histories. Before Kethra, there was a new war somewhere in the galaxy every few decades. The strong attacked the weak. Civilizations rose and fell. Now, the average has dropped to 1 war every century. Species think twice before attacking their neighbors. They remember what happened to the Voroth." "The argument of empires," Veltha said softly. "Peace bought with blood. I know. It's not comfortable. But tell me honestly, Veltha, is the galaxy better off now than it was 20 years ago?" The Talshri ambassador was silent for a long moment. Her tendrils moved in complex patterns that Samuel couldn't read. Finally, she spoke. "When I was young, my people lived in fear. The Voroth were expanding toward our territory. Every year they came closer. My government debated whether to fight or surrender. We knew that fighting meant death, but surrender meant slavery. There were no good choices." She looked at Samuel with eyes that had seen too much history. "Then humanity arrived. At first, we thought you were just another species to be conquered. But you surprised everyone. You showed that there were limits. You showed that aggression had consequences. The Voroth are gone, and my people are free. So you think we did the right thing?" "I think you did a necessary thing." Right and wrong are concepts that philosophers debate. In the real galaxy, sometimes there are only choices between bad and worse. Your leaders chose the option that protected your people. Who can blame them for that? A transport ship descended toward the station, carrying new arrivals. Samuel watched it dock, saw the passengers emerge. Among them were humans from Earth, scientists from allied species, and several Vorath. Yes, Vorath. Refugees from the shattered hegemony who had fled the chaos of their collapsing civilization. They lived under human governance now, protected by the same species that had destroyed their homeworld. Some called it irony. Others called it justice. Samuel just called it the way things were. The universe is strange, he said. 20 years ago, the Vorath attacked us. Now some of them live in our space, under our protection. Veltha made the gesture that served as a Tulshri laugh. History is full of such contradictions. Enemies become friends. Conquerors become refugees. Nothing is permanent except change itself. Samuel nodded. The station hummed with life around them. In the memorial section, a group of children listened to a guide explain the events of 20 years ago. In the research labs, human and alien scientists worked together on projects that would have seemed impossible a generation ago. In the docking bays, ships from a dozen species loaded and unloaded cargo. This was humanity's legacy. Not just the destruction of Kethra, but everything that came after. The treaties and trade agreements, the peaceful contacts and shared discoveries, the slow building of a community among the stars. The galaxy is watching us, Samuel said. They always will be. Every choice we make, every action we take, they're judging us. Deciding whether we're worth trusting, worth respecting. And do you think you are? Veltha asked. Samuel looked at the stars beyond the window. He thought about Lisa Morgan, who stayed behind so others could escape. He thought about Kevin Shaw, who died defending civilians. He thought about Patricia Cole, who carried the weight of 8 billion lives until her death. He thought about the future, stretching out before humanity like an endless ocean of possibilities. I think we're trying, he said finally. Every day we're trying to be worthy of the stars. That's all anyone can do. All the S-tendrils moved in approval. Then perhaps there is hope for all of us. Outside the window, the galaxy turned slowly, indifferent to the small creatures who lived and died among its stars. But those small creatures kept trying, kept building, kept reaching for something greater than themselves. Humanity had taken its place among the stars. The price had been terrible. The lessons had been hard, but they were still here, and they were just getting started.